Hi guys, James at RampantLionReviews again for you today with another beer review. For this one we are going to stick to Sweden and we're going to have a look at another beer from a brewery you've seen me review a couple of things from before. And this is another one of the beers from the local and småskaligt assortment that came out on the 1st of April 2020. And basically I just saw this one and I thought, I've not reviewed a beer from these guys in quite a wee while and it caught my fancy, so I thought, why not, let's have a go at this one. So for this review then we are going to go to a little place called Motala, and we're having a look at another beer from Prins Hantverksöl. So this is my third beer from these guys. The other ones that I reviewed, the last one was the Black Metal, which was a black IPA, and then before that it was the Citrusy, and both of those turned out pretty nicely actually, so hopefully this one also turns out to be a really interesting beer. So yeah, just a very, very small brewery these guys, but they do have their beers going all across Sweden just now, which is pretty cool I have to say. So yeah, this one is called the Long Live Sixten, and it is an 8% double dry hopped double IPA coming in at 8% ABV. So yeah, let's see how we get on with this one then. Really curious about this. So as always with my reviews, I'll tell you a little bit about the brewery before we taste the beer. If you want to get straight to the tasting, just fast forward. All the usual links are in the description below. That's the brewery website, the link to my other reviews that I've done from Prins Hantverksöl as well. No doubt you will see some more at some point in the near future. There's all the usual social media down there as well. If you want to see more reviews, do please consider subscribing to the channel. The whole channel of course has a geography based tagging system, so you can go into the home page and search for beer based on country, city, state, county, prefecture, whatever it is you're interested in. Do check out the playlists of beers from different countries. There is one there for all the Swedish beers that I reviewed for you. That's being constantly added to, and as always please do get in touch and let me know some of the other beers and breweries that you guys would like to see me review. It's always great to hear from you guys that are watching the videos, and the support that you show the channel is hugely appreciated. So anyway, to tell you a little bit about Prins Hantverksbryggeri, or Prins Hantverksöl. I found two names I think in the articles that I was reading on this brewery. So Prins Hantverksbryggeri, or Prins Hantverksöl, whatever you want to call them, is owned by Erik Riedel, who started helping out with Forsbryggeri, who are also based in Motala in Östergötaland on the banks of Vättern, one of the two great Swedish lakes. So he later decided to start brewing his own brand of beer back in 2017, and he named this after his cat Sixten. Kind of a popular name in Sweden that actually, when I was doing the teaching thing, I used to have some kids called Sixten. But Forsbryggeri apparently focuses on brewing the more kind of balanced types of beer, and I have reviewed one of their beers for you on the channel, a Caribbean Stout, if I remember correctly. But Eric, of course, wanted to brew the more bolder American styles of beer, and he's doing that in the same brewery. But originally these beers were just available in the local pubs around Motala and that kind of area, but they've since become available nationwide through Systembolaget, as I mentioned earlier. As of April 2020, when I'm filming this review for you, it's produced 25 different kinds of beer. Most of them are IPAs of some description as far as I can see, but I'll need to have a look through the list again and see what other things he has available. So yeah, I'm not sure if he actually has like a core range at the moment, but this is one, as I say, that was a new release on the 1st of April 2020 through the local and småskaligt releases in Systembolaget. As I've told you before, for those of you watching outside of Sweden, the Swedish breweries now have access to the market on the 1st, or near enough the 1st of every month, which is great because you only used to be able to get in every 3 months, and you of course had the small partiers as well before that. So we're still getting the small partiers, tillfällig assortment as they're now calling it, but the Swedish breweries now have access to the market a lot more easily, which is helping them get their beers out there and be a bit more experimental. So it is nice to see that the Systembolaget rules are changing to kind of reflect the market and things a little bit. It's taken them long enough, to be honest. But yeah, a really nice little brewery this one, and it's nice to try my third beer from them. So yeah, as I always say, if you want to learn more about this brewery, you can check out the brewery website. You can follow them on Facebook and Instagram to keep up to date with all the latest goings on, and of course you can check out the Rate Beer and Untappd pages to learn more, and Beer Advocate of course to learn more about all the different types of beers that they've done. So yeah, let's get on and have a look at this one then. So yeah, as you can see with this beer, it's got a very nice kind of catty type artwork on it. I have to admit, I'm more of a dog man. German Shepherds. My uncle always had German Shepherds. I fell in love with that dog breed a little bit, especially when I went out to visit them in Australia again. I think a German Shepherd will be joining the channel in a couple of years, we'll just need to see. But yeah, as I said to you at the start of the video, this one's called Long Live Sixten, of course after Eric's cat. 8% double dry hop double IPA, this one 330ml bottle, just a plain gold bottle cap on this one. And yeah, as I said to you, this one is produced at the Forsbryggeri in Motala on the banks of Vättern, which I believe, I forget, is that the one? I think that is the one that is closer to Gothenburg. It's on the more Gothenburg side of Sweden. Vänern, I think, is the one that's a little bit more to the east. I always mix up the two names because they are quite similar, but Vänern and Vättern are the two Great Lakes of Sweden. Massive big things. But yeah, nicely presented beer, this one. The hops in this apparently are Columbus, Citra and Simcoe. So a little bit of a kind of classic blend, if you like. The old school American high alpha acid hops in Columbus, you know, is the classic bittering hop. I'm just noticing on this one, there is a fair wee bit of sediment on the top of that. So yeah, and it looks like that's one of the things with the New Englands. You do want the oats to get through it a little bit. And it says here, it's got, it did say what kind of malts it had. So it's got corn malt, which is normal malt, basically wheat malt, and oated malts, and there are oat grains, it said. So yeah, vatten, corn malt, vetemalt, and havregrain. Oh yes. So yeah, everything that you'd have, everything that you would normally expect from an IPA. So this one, since there's havre in there, since there's oats in there, this one will be more of a New England style, but we'll see. It looked very clear actually when I had it in the fridge, but we'll see how it comes out in terms of haziness. But yeah, like I said to you, the first beer that I had from these guys was the Citrodon, and if I remember right, that had mangoes or some kind of fruit in it. Really not sure about that. Yeah, but that was a nice IPA, that one, and that's what really kind of made me kind of take notice of this brewery actually, and keep an eye on them going forward, because that first beer was really very, very nice actually. But then the black metal, I just wanted something a bit darker from them, and of course the name really kind of stuck out to me as well. I'm not sure if Eric is into his metal music. Quite a number of brewers in Sweden are. A lot of people generally in Scandinavia and Finland as well, the Nordic countries, are very into their heavy metal music. But yeah, as you can see with this one, it's poured exactly as you would expect from a nice hazy New England IPA. Quite a nice bright kind of yellow colour. This one a solid 1/3 finger of a frothy white coloured head, which is great. One or two big bubbles sticking towards the side of the glass, a few little ones going up towards the bottom of that head there, but you know, overall it looks pretty nice, and as I say, it's leaning more towards the yellow end of the spectrum in terms of its colour actually, so I really like how this one goes together. So yeah, put my fingers behind it, you can see there is a degree of haze to this, but it isn't the most kind of soupy and thick New England IPA that you're going to come across. And it's quite surprising that actually. I guess it depends how much kind of normal malt they're using, how much wheat malt and how much oats they're using, because of course that will affect the level of haziness. So I'm curious to see exactly what this beer's like in terms of its mouthfeel and things, but we'll find that out in a bit. Let's have a little look at the aroma then and see how we get on. So yeah guys, sorry about the edit there, camera just decided to play silly buggers again. So yeah, let's check out the aroma of this one then and see how we get on. So yeah, this one, it's kind of interesting. It's interesting because yeah, you get a little bit of a, it's got this kind of stale bready, almost kind of cardboardy aroma to it. It's almost, there's something in my head that makes me want to say it's a little bit like garlic bread. Don't know why exactly, but that's the first thing that really comes to mind with this one. But then on the front of the aroma, kind of around that, you do start to get this kind of wheaty thing that you would expect from a New England IPA, or what I'm assuming is a New England IPA. You've got a little bit of a kind of oaty creaminess in there as well. You can pick that up on the kind of side of the nose. But yeah, it really, there is something just like a kind of stale bready, garlicky bready type quality to this beer, which I think is so unusual that I wouldn't have expected that from a kind of New England type IPA. There's maybe a wee bit of a biscuity sweetness there as well, but the malt base really smells quite wet. As I say, you've got a bit of that kind of stale bready, cardboardy type thing to this, which is unusual. But it's almost a bit like kind of garlic bread or something, as I say. Did not expect that out of this. But then around that, or kind of underneath it or whatever, you do get, you do get some kind of oaty creaminess and a little bit of a wheaty sort of thing. I'm just wondering if my nose is playing tricks on me. I don't know. Maybe I have got the virus or something that's playing havoc with my nose. I don't know. Yeah, but that's interesting. There is a sort of there is a kind of bit of a bready, buttery type thing to this as well. But I like how this, I do like how this goes together. So yeah, on the hoppy side of things then, we've got a nice You can pick out a little bit of that typical sort of floral aromatic note from Columbus. Columbus will have been used as the bittering hop in this one. There's not much doubt in my mind about that. So yeah, you've got that nice kind of distinctive kind of floral quality coming out of that. The Columbus floral quality is just a little bit darker and danker, and sometimes it can have this really distinctive spiciness to it. You don't get too much of the spice in this, but the real kind of danky notes out of it are quite nice. You do get a little bit of a lighter grassy quality to this, and then you've got the juicy kind of tropical fruits that you'd expect from the Citra and the Simcoe in this one, which is really nice actually. So yeah, definitely some juicy mangoes on that front, the lighter, more milky kind of passion fruit. And you've got a few other wee things like lychee and kind of gooseberry coming out of the aroma there as well. So yeah, I like how that all goes together. I like how that goes together in this one. I mean, as I say, the sort of bready, almost garlicky type aroma that's in there, it's really strange. I mean, you do get with some of these New England beers, because some of the yeast can give you very, very strange aromas. I've had some beers that have smelled really, really weird and they have tasted very, very nice, and knowing this brewery, I think this might be the case with this one. But yeah, you do get the kind of oaty creaminess and wheaty notes out of this one you'd expect. It's got a nice kind of floral leaning kind of green side to the hops as well, and you've also got a kind of nice juicy tropical fruity kind of thing. It's very straight up, this beer, as I say. Mangoes, a little bit of a kind of passion fruity note, and you've also got the the kind of complexities that you expect from the Citra as well, a little bit of a gooseberry lychee kind of thing, and a few other little tropical bits and bobs in there too. But yeah, really unusual aroma on this one, I have to say, on the malty, yeasty side of things. But yeah, let's have a taste of this one then and see how we get on. This one is the Long Live Sixten, an 8% double dry hops, double IPA from Prins Hantverksöl in Motala, Östergötaland, on the banks of Vättern here in Sweden. Let's get stuck in. Slange, skål. Yeah. No, rest assured, it does taste as it should. This one, it's kind of nice, this. It actually has that real kind of homebrewed sort of vibe to it. Yeah, by no means, this one's quite, it is more of a malty leaning New England IPA. I'd definitely say that about it. It really leans towards that more malty side of things. See, the pale malty, I think the kind of pale malt base that this beer undoubtedly has is the thing that's kind of forming the linchpin of the beer. It's not the wheat and it's not the oats, as can sometimes happen with New England IPAs. The wheats and the oats are in there to kind of complement the rest of the flavours, I think. But yeah, this one is mainly a kind of malty leaning New England IPA. But yeah, this one is quite nice. As I say, it's got a little bit of that kind of homebrewed vibe to it. It's got a little bit of a kind of, how do you say, like a little bit of that kind of almost like fluffiness to it that you can get from some of these homebrewed beers. I like this. I do like this actually. It's pretty solid. Yeah. I mean, if it reminds me a little bit of in some ways, this is almost like a New England version, if you like. This beer makes me think of the how do you say, the Hulipan from Forsbryggeri in just outside of Malmö. It really reminds me of a kind of New England version of that. You would never guess that this was 8% though. That's one of the crazy things about this beer. You would never guess that this is 8%. If I was tasting this, I'd think it was like 6 or something, because it doesn't feel like it's that strong in the malt base. But yeah, if it's 8%, it covers it very, very well. You need to give them that. But yeah, I like this one. I think this would be really nice on tap actually, but it's a very wet feeling New England IPA. It's not as I say, it's not the creamiest of things, and the more and more that I drink of it, the kind of wetter it becomes. It might well benefit from being a little bit thicker, like a little bit more oats and wheat and things in it. As I say, I think this one really leans towards the kind of pale malty side of things. I think this is really leaning towards that rather than the wheat and the rather than the wheat and the oaty notes having a bigger percentage share, if you like, of the malt base. I think that's what the deal with this one is. But I like that about this beer. It's you do get some breweries that brew their beers that way, and it works. As I say, this one's quite a nice sort of, it has that really kind of small batch brewed, home brewed type vibe to it. So yeah, that's why I like this one. This brewery do some nice beers in that sense. I mean, I had the same impression of the Citradon was quite nice. Like, it felt like a very sort of raw beer. And the Black Metal had that same kind of vibe about it as well, a completely different style, but again, the yeastiness, that almost fluffiness that you get from the yeasty characters out of these beers, it just gives you know that this is a very, very small brewery, and that's one of the cool things. I mean, you can have your Stig Bearites, you can have your Digas, your Omnipoyos and things like this, but to review little things like this is always a nice kind of change of pace as well. This one really does have that almost homebrewed vibe to it, which is interesting. But yeah, let's try and break this flavour down a little bit more then. So straight away in the middle of your palate, as I say, you feel that nice kind of pale malty quality, that blankets the middle of your tongue. Further you go into the aftertaste, it does thicken up a little bit. As you go towards the back of the palate, you get a little bit of you can pick out a little bit of the wheatiness, and as you come further forward, you get a little bit of the oaty creaminess. But like I say, those are quite minimal components of the flavour in my mind. I don't get too much in the way of a biscuity note out of this one, come to think of it. Yeah, there's not really, there is a wee teeny bit of a kind of McVitie's digestive biscuity sort of thing, but otherwise, as I say, it's quite a smooth, pale malty leaning malt base, a little bit of oatiness, a little bit of wheaty quality in there, but otherwise it's quite an interesting one, this. I like how that malt base goes together. It's very different from from some of the other beers that you'll find on the market, of course. On the hoppy side of things then, back corners of the palate, definitely a little bit of earthiness there, one of the characteristics of Columbus. As you come further forward, it does get that more kind of danky quality that you'd expect of Columbus. You really get that kind of darker, it's not quite aniseedy, but it's almost got a little bit of that, the floral quality almost does have a little bit of that aniseedy note there, but as you go round the front curve of the palate, it's a little bit lighter and grassy in terms of its in terms of the green side of the hops. And I'd say that this one does lean a little bit more towards that slightly danky floral character actually. Behind the front curve of the palate, that's where you get that nice oily bubble where those juicy fruity esters start to push their way out of the beer. So yeah, that's nice in this one, and it is quite old school in terms of its fruity qualities as well. But yeah, I like how this one, I do like how this goes together. If you go towards the back of the oily part of the palate there, you do get some of the passion fruity notes and the sort of darker side of it, because Citra will give you a little bit of grapefruit, it will give you a little bit of that, so at the back of that fruity part of the palate you do get that. As you come further forward, passion fruit from the Simcoe, soft passion fruit, then a bit more of a softer mango, and as you reach the very kind of front edge of the tongue, that's where you get the little sort of all the complexities of the Citra. There is a wee bit of a kind of gooseberry-ish note right on the tip of the tongue as you go further into the the edge of the palate there. So yeah, but you also get a little bit of a kind of citrusy zestiness. There's almost a little bit of a lemon limey kind of zesty quality around the front edge of the palate too, which is quite interesting. But like I say, this one, it really does have a nice kind of homebrewed sort of vibe to it. So I like that. You know, thumbs up to Prins Hantverksöl for this one. I think they've done a nice job of this. So cheers to them. I think the next one that I try from these guys has to be a stout, or something like, or a West Coast IPA. I don't know if they have a West Coast IPA, because I think Citradon, if I remember right, was a sort of fruity, hazy New England type thing. I think if it, in terms of the strength of the flavours and stuff, the Citradon was quite a bit more punchy than this, which you wouldn't expect because, you know, this is double dry hopped, double IPA. You would expect this to be a bit more punchy, but I would never, if I was blind tasting this, I would say that about this, I would never ever guess that this was an 8%er. I'd think this was a kind of, you know, 6, 6.5, something like that. I would really think that about this beer. It doesn't have the dustiness that you sometimes get from the dry hopping as well, actually, so it must have been sitting for a little bit, but in fairness, I'm filming this review for you on the 15th, and this beer was released on the 1st, so it probably has been in the bottle long enough for the kind of dustiness that you get from these beers to settle a little bit. But yeah, in terms of the mouthfeel then, fairly mid-bodied beer. The carbonation is very smooth. Yeah, carbonation is very smooth on this one. It's got quite a wet mouthfeel to it. The water in this is obviously very, very clean. But when you're next to one of the Great Swedish Lakes, probably that's where the water's coming from. It is really very, the water in this one really, you can taste the sort of cleanliness and the minerals in it. I love that. We get that in Scotland quite a lot. You've noticed that with the Icelandic beers as well. The further north you go in the Nordic countries, you really can taste the quality of the water in these beers. In terms of IBUs and things like that, this one I think is your kind of standard. I think this is maybe about 40-ish IBUs, maybe a 50. But Columbus can always give you a bit more kind of bitterness to it, which is interesting. And you've got a really nice juicy fruity quality to this beer, as I mentioned to you. And I'd say the fruits are quite wet and juicy in terms of their composition. If you like, the malt base is really very smooth rather than anything else. There's not really much sweetness to it. But overall, this is quite a nice beer. It's a little bit of a kind of old school homebrewed kind of vibe that this one has, but I really like that about it. So yeah, let's leave it at that for this review then. I think this is a nice beer, definitely a bit more of an old school homebrewed type thing, and sometimes that's what you want. So yeah, this one was the Long Live Sixten, double dry hopped, double IPA coming in at 8% from Prins Hantverksöl in Motala on the banks of Vättern in here in Sweden. A really interesting little brewery, and I will keep an eye on what these guys are releasing in the future. So yeah, let's leave it at that. Once again, thank you for watching my beer reviews. Until the next time, please like, subscribe, share, all the usual YouTube stuff. Let me know your own thoughts on this beer in the comments section below. Let me know what your favourite beers are from this brewery, and I'm sure we'll return to these guys at some point soon. The next beer I think has to be a stout or a West Coast IPA. I think those out of the next beers, I think that's what I need to keep an eye out for from this brewery. So yeah, thanks again for watching, and I will catch you guys very soon. Make sure you check out my social media. Make sure you check out Prins Hantverksbryggeri, Prins Hantverksöl. I'm not actually sure what the official name of the brewery is, but thank you again for watching, and I will catch you guys very soon. Slanja, skål, cheers.